Okay, let's clean our form up a little bit. So right now we have the starting date on one line, ending date on another line, and I want to put them beside each other. Unfortunately, Bootstrap gives us some really easy ways to do this. So back in the documentation under forms, so I'm documentation, forms, I'm going to go over to the right-hand side here and look for form row. There we are. So I can put things beside each other. That's exactly what I want. And it looks like all I have to do is wrap whatever elements I want to be in one row and put a div class equals call around each column. Well, that's almost exactly like laying things out on a page. So that should be pretty easy. Let's try that. So back here I am looking at my reservation page, and here's my form, which is right here. I'm going to wrap this entire thing, div class equals form dash row. And then I will close that down here before my button, but after the other input, slash div. And this needs to be wrapped in a div class equals call. Div class equals call for my start, and I'll end it right here, slash div. And the same thing here. Div class equals call, and close the div right, where is it? Here, slash div. So things are getting a little out of whack right now, so I'm going to reformat it all by selecting the entire form, moving it over, and then indenting things a little bit. So the first div here includes this column, which is right there. So this is a div class call, this is a div class form group, this one goes with that. Okay, so this all gets moved in as one. Then this div class call gets moved in as one. Then this form group gets moved in. There, okay. And the same thing for this. This gets moved over. And this is just so I don't accidentally have unclosed divs or too many closing divs or something like that, which is really, really easy to do and much easier to fix while you're entering things rather than making up as we go along. So there's a div here, and this div, see, I was out of whack. Move that one over and move that one over to here. And this div should close the div class equals form row. So this whole thing gets indented, then this gets indented, and now I can move my whole form over. There, that's much cleaner. Let's save that and see what it looks like. So back over to here, find my nice page, reload. Much better. Starting date here, ending date here. That's exactly what I want. All right, now the other thing I want is I don't want people to be able to submit this form without actually having something in here and something in here. So I can do that really easily, and it's HTML5 that does this for us. We're going to do a better version in the next lecture or the next section, somewhere along there. But right now, let's just make it a required field. And I can do that simply by typing the word required anywhere in that input. Input required. Better spell it right, though. Required, required. Now, if I reload this page, I should not be able to submit this form. See, please fill in this field. So it actually, and again, this is not something we have done. All we did was put the word required in there. This is actually handled by the browser. And again, different browsers handle it differently. So this works, and it's sufficient for our purposes at the moment, but with a little bit of judiciously applied JavaScript, we can make this much better. And we will do that in the not too distant future. For now, we have our search for availability. Is there any other information we need on this form? And I think it's not. There's no information that we need other than what we're specifying right now. We don't need the person's name or their email address or any special requests. All we want them to do is to be able to search for availability. And that works really well. The only thing I would say about this form is it's kind of wide. It really is. It's taking up a lot of space horizontally because the date is only this big. So we can fix that. And we can fix that by changing this call to a call MD, well, let's go with 6 to make it half the width that it normally is, okay? And that actually makes it much smaller. Very good. And we could even, if we wanted to, since we know we have 12 columns and we're using 6, we could actually add an offset or just put an empty column here. Div class equals call MD3, which gives us a total of 9, but this is div is just going to close. We don't need anything else there. This should add a space for 3 columns and leave it blank, and then give us this, which should center it on the page. Let's see if it does. And it does. Okay, and maybe the word submit shouldn't say submit. Maybe I should say, here we have, instead of submit, just say search availability. Okay, and if we reload that, there. Now we have our search for availability page functional. We can make it better, and we will make it better. So let's see here. The only other thing, yeah, that's all right. That's sufficient for now. All right, this gets us going. And this actually gives us our search for availability page on this on our site. So the other place that we have this is when we're looking at rooms, we have check availability, which, you know, doesn't do anything right now. It goes to a dummy placeholder URL. We need to figure out what we're going to do with this. But my plan is to say, rather than taking us to a whole new page on the site to search for General's Quarters, well, that might be confusing. I'm on the General Quarters page, site page. I'm looking at it. If I click that button and it takes me somewhere else, it's kind of non-intuitive. It would be better if we could pop a dialog and have the search availability button just show up in that, where we enter our starting date and our ending date, and we stay right on this page. And we'll do that. But to do that, we need to use some JavaScript, which we'll get to in the next section. For right now, we have everything we need to start cutting these pages up and turning them into Golang templates. Before we do that, we'll probably add some JavaScript, and we'll do that in the next section.